When given the chance to engage with literacy, which was the point of this class and the point of this assignment in particular, caught myself there. I really wanted to look at something that I engage in as without thinking about it. And what I came up with is video essays, which is something that I deeply enjoy. Um, and the first video essay I ever saw was about one of my favorite characters in one of my favorite TV shows, book series actually, but same thing nowadays. It was completely inaccurate, but it was so fun that it got me down this rabbit hole. And I've always been a consumer of the medium, and I wanted to see what it would be like to actually engage in it and actually utilize that literacy or attempt to utilize that literacy, which is really what this is. So, in shorthand, I'm making a video essay on the merits of video essays. I think it's very important to address what I find to be a video essay because I don't think there's really a consensus on what a video essay really is and what it's supposed to be doing. So, when looking over several different YouTube videos labeled video essay, I came to some conclusions that a video essay needs three things. The first is a thesis statement. And the reason why I say this is because if you have the statement, is Endgame a good movie? It is a bad movie. It is a good movie. Then you're going into review territory. The thesis statement needs to be more complex than that. And I think a good example is Nerdwriter One's um, video on Sir Ian McKellen's acting.
We all know that Sir Ian McKellen can act, but what makes him a great actor? And more specifically, what makes him great on film? There are a lot of answers to this question. His mastery of the material, a grasp of interpersonal relationships, an ability to listen and be at ease in the awkward zone of a film set. But acting, I think, is more than just putting yourself in the shoes of the character. It's a craft, and part of that craft is understanding and gaining control of all the involuntary things we do when we communicate, the inflections of the voice, the gestures of the body, and the expressions of the face.
Prepare for battle!
In The Lord of the Rings, Ian McKellen's eyes, in particular, carry a heavy load. Gandalf is the moral center of the story.
So there are several things that I noticed personally when looking at that opening. I see we have several baiting questions that are getting at the heart of the thesis. What makes Sir Ian McKellen great at acting? Um, this is engaging the reviewer in what the thesis is going to be. Then we have an example of this when Sir Ian McKellen opens his eyes in front of the camera, right in front of our faces. We see that Nerdwriter One is actually supporting his claim with the evidence provided, which I'll get into later. But all this is to build a thesis and build the workings around of the thesis of the video essay. So that's the first requirement. So the second requirement that I notice video essays utilize is using a source or an artifact. For example, my artifact would be video essays, and because it's an artifact with multiple layers, I'm using multiple sources. However, most video essays usually focuses exclusively and extensively on one artifact, such as Jenny Nicholson's uh, a Christmas Prince video essay, which I also find interesting in the fact that she's kind of poking fun on video essays as a medium while also engaging in one full-heartedly, not like cynically by any means. And I thought it was very interesting in general, but I'm going to use her as an example of sort of you focusing in on an artifact. And usually what you'll find is a lot of times video essays specifically on YouTube will have their artifact in their title, like for hers, I think it's a grim dystopia, the grim dystopia of A Christmas Prince. That's the name of her video, so you know the artifact right away, and you even have like an idea of what the thesis might be. So here's her video.
So, I barely resisted covering A Christmas Prince when it debuted last Christmas time, but I felt like it was a little lean. I felt like I needed something more that I could really sink my teeth into. And as soon as Netflix announced A Christmas Prince 2, The Royal Wedding, I knew I would be revisiting the franchise, and that day has come. Because now A Christmas Prince is a cinematic universe.
So in that video, we see Janie Nicholson addressing the artifact, in this case, A Christmas Prince, throughout that introductions, really addressing and really stapling the essay with that artifact. So we know going in already. I lack the technical skills to show you on screen for right now the title of the essay, but even through the title alone, we know going into this that we're going to be addressing this movie, and then in the video essay, she's reinforcing that, so we know what artifact we're using, and we'll see this throughout the very beginning of the video essay. We'll see the artifacts being used. Oftentimes, if there's two major artifacts, because I usually see one or two. If there's two major artifacts, we have the one central artifact and sort of the secondary artifact that's supporting the video essayist's opinion, for lack of a better term, supporting where they're getting their facts, where they're getting their analysis and perspective from. So the third and final requirement I notice is quoting from a source. Typically the artifacts, always the artifacts, but also occasionally secondary sources. And when I say quote, I know naturally we think of in a traditional essay, we have the quotation marks followed by the evidence that we're using to support our claims. When I say quote, I really mean the thing I've been doing earlier. The last two clips I showed outside of my own analysis, outside my own words. That's evidence. That's quoting from the sources I'm using. That's quoting from, so in this case, I'm using examples of video essays to support my claims on video essays, the three requirements of video essays in this case. So that's quoting. One other example that I've noticed, and I think going back to that very first video essay that I ever watched, was Alt-Shift-X. I hope I say that name right. Alt-Shift-X had that bolt-on video. I did. Alt-Shift-X. I'm so amazing. Congratulating myself. So Alt-Shift-X had that bolt-on video, and I think what they do is very interesting because they don't just quote from they don't just have a video quote like I've been doing, and which I'm only capable of doing at this point in my literacy of video essays, but they also actually do literally quote from the books, which I found extremely satisfying and really awesome. So you can see also the potential for a combination of both more traditional quoting and clip quoting.
Is manipulative, cold, ambitious, and utterly ruthless. We know he has an enthusiasm for flaying and leeches, and is generally a seriously creepy dude.
I'm learning how to position my camera. How amazing. Isn't that super duper cool? So from that video, we see kind of maybe being overwhelmed with evidence, to be frank, but it's still fascinating because we have a clip towards the right, and I think it would be right even when I show this video to people, hopefully, so I don't look weird and dumb and stuff like that, because, you know, my deep-rooted insecurities. So on your right you have a video clip, and then surrounded by like evidence from the novel itself. So we see this as a theory that transcends just the show. It's going into the books too. So that's what I found very fascinating about that. We see an example of of like what I'm doing, quoting directly from a source, and that's really it with my tech level. But then you see he's utilizing multiple different sources on one screen, showing the viewer, you, all the different evidence that sort of supports this whatever claim he's making. So I thought that was fascinating and still off-centered. And this is another interesting thing, angling yourself, learning your space, which is very interesting, very hard for me. So I talked a little bit about what I believe a video essay is. So I think I should go a little deeper than simply saying I'm not talking about reviews. I want to talk why there's a difference. So reviews have their own literary history. We have written reviews on movies, on books, um, even responses on essays. So that is a common thing that we see, um, which means I think it's worthy of its own video essay on the subject. This I want to focus in on video essays as a form in general, so that's why I sort of built those criteria to sort of stay away from video essay from reviews. That said, most specifically on YouTube, which is the major platform that I'm using to do this analysis, most content creators that do video essays also do reviews. It's intermingled. Sometimes you have something that starts off as a review, moves into video essay, vice versa. So there's no like direct black and white line by any means, and I want to make that point clear moving forward. I just felt these were far more video essay like than review like. But I think it's an interesting middle ground and an interesting topic of discussion at some later point. It would be super fun to talk about the difference and where that line is crossed, and where it isn't, if there is even a line, to be honest and to be frank. But yeah, that's why I set these requirements in place to sort of like really try to focus my essay. And let's see what we can get into now. I'm going to attempt to do this at the same time, so. Alright. Alright, I think we have this both active at the same time. This is all new to me, so this is wonderful. Alright, so I want to talk a little bit about why I decided to use YouTube. And mostly it's because it has all this information right in front of us. It has all this data available to a person like me who's trying to do as little work as possible, clearly. So we have the publication date, we have the content creator, we have the name of the work, we have the view count. We can see how the interest people have in these videos through view count alone. We could see if this is considered a good video essay or a bad video essay through the like to dislike ratio. We can see people's responses to the video through this. Now, from what I understand, YouTubers, YouTube content creators get money from view counts. But in order to increase view counts, you want subscribers, because then you'll be notified of the next video, which means view count increases rapidly. So you see sort of this system where the content creator is really trying to seek out view count, and hopefully is doing this through means of improving their work. You also see comments, which means that the content creator has the opportunity to engage with their audience. As you see, this is pinned to the top, so this is the first thing the content creator wants the viewer to see if they're looking at the comments. Hit the join button. So again, it's like the subscriber helps them increase their views, or increases the likelihood of higher views, which means more money to them. Support them on Patreon, which is a secondary payment option, which is where the audience member, the viewer, can pay them directly for the service, and usually they're given rewards for for doing so. And subscribe, keep up with the latest videos, and let us know what you want to see next. So this is sort of like engaging. So we have, unlike a traditional essay, we have a lot of engagement between the content creator and the viewer and the audience. So now this doesn't always happen. Sometimes content creators aren't very engaged with their audience, but you see the potential for that. And you see that because of this, we have a system in which the content creator is really subject to the viewers, as opposed to the requirements of a magazine or the editor of a magazine or their publisher. So it's straight into the consumer, I guess you can say, if we're talking about capitalist rhetoric. So straight into the heart of the consumer. The consumer has control of this content creator. So there's a different dynamic as opposed to a traditional essay, which has a. All right. So now I want to talk a little bit about how I found these videos. So what I first attempted to do is make a sort of hidden web, so it wouldn't have my biased video counts. So then I went to YouTube and straight up looked up video essays. And what you end up getting is a little different than the last time I looked at it, which was a couple seconds ago. But what you end up getting is you get into ruts real quickly if you go to, let's say, Thanos deserves to win. So what you'll end up doing...
Damn it, how could this have happened?
I know, how could this have happened? So what you end up getting are videos, first off, most likely from the same creator, so full fat videos, and then these are all sort of character studies, and you'll keep on getting sort of the same video over and over again. I think that was a repeat. No, it's a part 2s and part 3s and blah, 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 blah. And then you'll get this same feeling video essay, which isn't bad by any means, but it does limit the... And then now we're getting into reviews. So that's what ends up happening if you just go sort of like a blind approach. So what I wanted to do, because I didn't want to just get only one type of video essay, I didn't want to just get craft. I ended up having to kind of do this. That's why you see initially a lot of craft essays. Like these are all craft essays, and I don't think this is exact order, but I had to end up going into my actual accounts and sort of skewing the scales to see other different types of video essays. Like this is Melina Pendulum's video is a response to another video. The game theorist actually uses his background in physics, I believe, to sort of make these scientific video essays. And then you have sort of genre studies, which I probably could have got to normally. But also you get social issues, which you're not going to find if you go to a craft video essay first. So bad media criticisms, addressing game theory's biggest problems, incel. You're not going to find these videos if you go on a video about Thanos' role in the Marvel Universe. Not that it's inherently a bad thing, because it's probably not exactly your thing, but when you're gathering data, it kind of skews the system a little bit. So my next step was trying to put all these videos into categories so I can better sort of break them down for a video essay of my own. And what I ended up doing was creating this list where I put all of them in certain categories that I thought were appropriate. So the first is craft, the second is artifact analysis, third is genre, The fourth is scientific, psychological, and then we have social videos. Now, what I ended up realizing when I really thought about it was that this was more of my speaking in Sith way, trying to give absolute categories that apply absolutely, when in reality, a lot of these video essays can fit in a multitude of these categories, these other categories, without much trouble. With a good argument, you can make one of these videos from craft essay to artifact analysis. In fact, if you want to be completely honest, every single one of these videos is artifact analysis. And then I also realized that craft essay became sort of my grab bag of video essays that I couldn't quite identify. So it was really more a comfort for me. So I really abandoned this, especially when I tried to recruit my class to gather more resources for me and help me out with this. And none of them really engaged in like creating new categories or like rejecting categories. They didn't really care about categories. What they were more interested in was seeing other more examples, and they added more examples of video essays. So I quickly abandoned this idea, though I thought it was interesting at the moment. It really distracts from what video essays actually do, trying to speak in broad terms like this, because you can find really a better example and better literacy in how they convey information than trying to define the information they're gathering as something. Because I'm realizing that my video is now, I believe, 21 minutes long, and I'm going to need to wrap it up if I even get this opportunity to wrap it up. I really wanted to end this conversation with a talk about the growing interests revolving around video essays. So, to set this up, when I offered the class my categories and my lists in this design category of craft essay and so on, what I really wanted them to do was sort of work with these categories, maybe expand on these, add new categories, break these categories down, challenge them, add new videos, whatnot. What I ended up finding is that no one was interested in doing that, despite my desperate pleas that that would be what they were interested in. Instead, what I found is that they were way more interested in sort of the growing interests revolving around video essays, and I had some people actually include some of these articles that are relating to video essays. For example, Polygon magazine seems to be very interested in video essays, and they created a top something. I don't know if it's 10 exactly. I think it is 10, but top video essays of 2018. And for the most part, these are video essays that definitely fall down the line of having an artifact followed with the thesis and supported by evidence, as I laid out earlier. However, I really wanted to bring up this Strachey video, and I probably said that wrong. Try to look it up, but you know how it goes in pronunciation, especially for me. So this video is very interesting because it's entirely made of clips. I'll just, I don't know, get somewhere.
Then playing Pictionary, your attention's a valuable thing. I worked for 3 years to get it for an hour, and I barely get there. See?
It's like, these people actually do a job, right? They actually are supposed to give you a tangible.
And now this video is on sort of the fake friends or the personas that are created in social media landscapes, as I think this definition probably says a lot better than me. But what I found beyond that is that this is definitely something I personally would consider a video essay, yet it doesn't really follow my requirements. There is really no analysis of the quote, and there isn't really a directed stated thesis statement. So what we end up having is this video completely made up of all these quotes, and yet through those quotes we get a thesis and we get the points of the video essay in general. And I thought that was a very interesting challenge to what I perceived as a video essay. The next is actually a video essay talking about a documentary for some new alien documentary, um, and sort of connecting that to a video essay in general. And I thought that was really interesting, sort of tying this idea, this concept of documentary, which has its own tradition, into the lights of a video essay, which I wouldn't refute by any means, but it does raise an interesting question, an interesting conversation of if it is the same, is it a different branch of video essay? Or is that what a video essay aspires to be? So on and so forth. And then in this documentary, we have more video essayists that I recognize as video essayists as opposed to documentarians. And I thought this was really interesting, again, challenging this concept of video essay. And the last is an essay by Lavick, which really goes down and claims, as the title suggests, that video essays are going to be the future for film criticisms and television criticisms, and really goes down sort of the community that it's set. It even goes and addresses the most challenging issue that is facing the community as of right now, copyright issues, which, so I can run down a little breakdown of that. So the biggest challenge facing right now is that those clips that I mentioned before are being copyrighted. So you're no longer able to quote from a source from your artifacts because the intellectual property owner can claim that that is a breach of their copyright, and it becomes a very hard system to fight against for the video essayists. So the one thing I would say that I'm doing differently to this video, because I think this video dives deeper and way better than I could ever even attempt to do on the whole concept of video essay, but this clearly is focusing on only film and television criticisms, where I think video essays in general is going to be a great way of conveying information, conveying understanding through a visual medium, which is how most people gather information and understand information. So I really want to close this off by saying that video essays are a growing medium that need to be recognized because it becomes a great way of both learning technological expertise and literacy, but also engaging in your understanding and your knowledge in a medium that is easily accessible. YouTube becomes a great platform to sort of use and evoke these voices, even though it has its problems. Like I said, like I mentioned, copyright is an issue, but despite that, there's a great opportunity that I hope gets utilized in the future where we can convey information visually, or at least do so more often and with more academic support.